Your cat is sitting 3 feet away from you, staring at the wall. You apologized 10 minutes ago, you've offered treats, you've tried the slow blink, and nothing has changed. The body language is unmistakable. Ears slightly back, tail wrapped tight around the body. That deliberate refusal to make eye contact. You're pretty sure you know what happened. Maybe you stepped on their tail, or you were late with dinner, or you brought them to the vet yesterday. What you're watching feels personal, like your cat is holding a grudge, punishing you with strategic coldness. That's not what's happening. What's actually happening has almost nothing to do with punishment and everything to do with a neurological state that most people mistake for emotional manipulation. The research on feline stress recovery shows that what looks like your cat ignoring you is your cat trying to return to baseline cortisol levels. And the things most people do to apologize make that process take significantly longer. Number 1. Stop talking and give them physical space. In 2019, researchers at the University of Lincoln tested 37 domestic cats to measure cortisol response during and after stressful events. They found that cats who were given immediate physical space after a negative interaction returned to baseline stress levels in an average of 23 minutes. Cats who were repeatedly approached by their owners during the same window took an average of 67 minutes to recover, nearly 3 times longer. The mechanism is straightforward. When a cat experiences something stressful, whether it's pain from being stepped on, or fear from a loud noise, or frustration from a disrupted routine, their amygdala triggers a cortisol release that prepares them for threat response. That cortisol needs time to metabolize. During that window, your cat's brain is hypersensitive to additional stimuli. Every time you approach them, even with good intentions, you're introducing new sensory input that their nervous system has to process as potential threat. Your voice, your movement, your smell, all of it registers as something their brain must evaluate before it can stand down. The first thing you do to apologize is nothing. You create distance. You stop following them from room to room. You stop saying their name in that soft, apologetic voice. You let their cortisol curve descend without interruption. This is not about ignoring your cat. This is about recognizing that their nervous system needs silence to recalibrate. And your presence, no matter how loving, is noise. Number 2. Lower your physical profile when you're in the same room. A 2021 study by Dr. Sarah Ellis at the University of Nottingham examined how cats respond to human body positioning during stress recovery periods. Researchers found that cats were 73% more likely to approach a person who was seated or lying down compared to someone standing upright, and their approach happened an average of 11 minutes sooner. The biological explanation centers on threat assessment. Cats are both predators and prey animals, and their visual processing prioritizes verticality as a threat indicator. When you're standing at full height, you occupy a dominant spatial position that activates the same neural pathways involved in evaluating larger predators. This doesn't mean your cat thinks you're going to attack them. It means their brain is involuntarily running threat calculations based on your size and posture. And those calculations delay the shift from defensive state to social state. When you lower your body, you reduce the visual threat profile. Sit on the floor, lie on the couch, make yourself smaller. A companion study at Lincoln found that cats were more likely to initiate physical contact with humans who were in reclined positions, and the contact happened with lower cortisol markers than when humans initiated contact from standing positions. This is not about submission. This is about removing an involuntary stressor from their visual field so their parasympathetic nervous system can take over. The second thing you do to apologize is make yourself physically smaller whenever you're sharing space with them during recovery. Number 3. Offer high-value food and then leave. In 2018, researchers at Oregon State University tested behavioral responses in 46 cats by offering food rewards at different intervals after mild stressors. Cats who received high-value food, defined as something significantly more appealing than their regular diet, within 15 minutes of a stressor, showed a 64% faster return to baseline behavioral markers compared to cats who received regular food or no food. But there's a second factor that matters more than the food itself. The same study found that cats whose owners left immediately after offering the food showed measurably lower stress indicators than cats whose owners stayed and watched them eat. The mechanism involves 2 overlapping systems. First, eating activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and digest functions. When a cat eats something they find highly rewarding, their brain releases dopamine and serotonin, both of which counteract cortisol. Second, Eating is a vulnerable activity for cats. In the wild, eating requires focus and temporarily reduces their ability to monitor for threats. When you stand there watching them eat, you become part of their threat monitoring workload. They have to split their attention between the food and you, which diminishes the parasympathetic activation you're trying to trigger. The third thing you do to apologize is offer something genuinely high value. Something like a small amount of plain cooked chicken or freeze-dried salmon, and then walk away. Put it down and leave the room. Let them eat in private. This is not bribery. This is neurochemical support delivered in a format their brain can accept without additional stress. Number 4. Use slow blinks only after they initiate eye contact. The slow blink has become widely recognized as a bonding behavior between cats and humans, backed by research from the University of Sussex in 2020 that demonstrated cats are more likely to approach people who slow blink at them. But that study involved cats in neutral or positive emotional states. A less cited finding from the same research team showed that cats in heightened stress states responded negatively to slow blinks initiated by humans before the cat had re-established eye contact. The distinction matters because of how cats use gaze. Direct eye contact in feline communication typically signals confrontation or dominance assertion. When your cat is stressed and actively avoiding eye contact, they're using gaze aversion as a calming signal, a way of communicating that they're not interested in escalating conflict. If you force eye contact and then slow blink, you're violating their boundary. You're inserting yourself into their visual field when they've deliberately chosen to look away. And the slow blink doesn't override the stress of that intrusion. The timing is everything. Wait until your cat looks at you first. It might take 20 minutes, it might take an hour, but when they finally glance in your direction, that's when you return the slow blink. At that point, their nervous system has shifted enough to seek social reconnection, and the slow blink becomes a confirmation rather than an interruption. The fourth thing you do to apologize is wait for them to look at you before you attempt any bonding behavior. This is not about playing hard to get. This is about respecting their autonomy in choosing when to re-engage. Number 5. Engage in parallel activity without interaction. In 2020, a study published in the journal Animals examined how cats responded to different forms of human presence during recovery from stressful veterinary visits. Researchers compared 3 conditions: owners who actively tried to comfort their cats, owners who left the room entirely, and owners who stayed in the room but engaged in a separate, quiet activity like reading or working on a laptop. The third group showed the fastest behavioral recovery, with cats returning to normal exploration and play behavior an average of 19 minutes sooner than the active comfort group and 8 minutes sooner than the complete absence group. The explanation involves social referencing and ambient security. Cats are socially flexible animals who form attachment bonds but don't require constant interaction to maintain those bonds. When you're in the room doing something calm and non-threatening, you provide what animal behaviorists call ambient social support. Your presence signals that the environment is safe enough for you to engage in low-vigilance activity, which helps your cat's threat assessment system recalibrate. You're modeling security without demanding engagement. This is different from hovering or waiting for them to come to you while staring at them hopefully. You're genuinely occupied with something else. You're reading, you're on your phone, you're folding laundry. You're available, but not focused on them, which removes the social pressure to respond. The fifth thing you do to apologize is be present without being interactive. Exist in the same space, doing something quiet, letting them observe you in a non-threatening state. This is not indifference. This is creating a low-pressure environment where they can choose proximity without obligation. Number 6. Wait for them to initiate physical contact. The most common mistake people make when trying to reconcile with their cat is reaching out to pet them before the cat has given clear invitation signals. A 2017 study at the University of Guelph found that cats who initiated physical contact with their owners after a stressor showed significantly lower cortisol levels during and after the interaction compared to cats who were touched by their owners before showing approach behavior. The cortisol difference was measurable and substantial. Cats who initiated contact had cortisol levels that dropped by an average of 34% during a 5-minute interaction, while cats who were touched before initiating contact showed only a 12% decrease, and some showed no decrease at all. The reason connects to agency and predictability. When your cat chooses to approach you, they're operating from a place of voluntary engagement. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain involved in decision-making and impulse control, is online and active. They've assessed the situation, determined it's safe, and made a choice. That cognitive pathway is incompatible with high stress states. When you reach for them first, you remove their agency. The touch might be gentle, your intentions might be loving, but their nervous system registers the interaction as something happening to them rather than something they're choosing. That distinction changes the neurological response. The sixth thing you do to apologize is wait. Wait until your cat rubs against your leg, or headbutts your hand, or jumps onto your lap. Wait for the unmistakable signal that they're ready for contact, and then respond. Keep the interaction brief, and let them control the duration. If they walk away after 10 seconds, let them go. This is not rejection. This is them regulating their own nervous system at a pace that works for their biology. The next time your cat is sitting across the room, refusing to look at you, here's what's actually happening in the moments after you've done something wrong. Their amygdala has triggered a cortisol response that's flooding their system, making their entire nervous system hypersensitive to stimuli. Their threat assessment protocols are running in the background, evaluating whether the environment is safe enough to stand down. Their parasympathetic nervous system is trying to activate, but it can't fully engage while their brain is still processing potential threats. When you give them space, you remove stimuli. When you lower your body, you reduce visual threat markers. When you offer high-value food and leave, you trigger dopamine and serotonin without adding social pressure. When you wait for them to initiate eye contact before slow blinking, you respect their boundary signals. When you engage in parallel activity, you provide ambient security. When you wait for them to choose physical contact, you restore their agency. Each of these actions directly addresses a specific mechanism in feline stress recovery. None of them are about punishment or forgiveness in the way humans conceptualize those ideas. They're about creating the neurological and environmental conditions that allow your cat's nervous system to return to baseline. The research on this is not ambiguous. Cats bond with humans. They form attachments. They experience stress when those bonds are disrupted, and they recover faster when humans understand what recovery actually requires. If you're in that moment right now, sitting on your floor while your cat stares at the wall, the science supports you doing less, not more. It supports you waiting, lowering yourself, offering food, and then giving them the time and space their biology needs to find you again. If this helped you understand what's actually happening when your cat needs space, subscribe to see more research-backed explanations of feline behavior. Leave a comment about which cat behavior you want explained next, because there's a surprising amount of science we still need to cover.